I'm down at the William Buckley Memorial down on the Painkalac River in Aireys Inlet, and this is our estuary, the Painkalac Estuary, and you can see the ocean there in the background. Well, with all the floods in Queensland and the southeast corner of Queensland, Western Victoria, Aireys has had a truckload of rain. We're approaching 100 mil in the last couple of days. You can see how gloomy the sky is there. And it's January. It's a bizarre weather pattern for down here, and it feels like we should be somewhere closer to Darwin than the southern reaches of Australia. And the Painkalac's filling pretty quickly. There's a fair bit of water coming down, and everyone loves it when it breaks its banks, which you can see the strip of sand there just on the horizon. And if we keep getting rain like this today, the Painkalac Estuary is going to break its banks and join up with the sea. Not sure when high tide is, I'll have to check that. Let's go and have a look at the estuary itself. Well, I'm down at the bottom end of the estuary now where the freshwater ends, and you can see the surf in the background. It's going to be, and there's Zach the dog, it's going to be high tide at 6 o'clock this afternoon, and the stretch of sand that often gets pushed out here on a really big flood is this whole stretch here you can see in front. And it's about probably 50 or 60 metres wide, and it's probably 50 or 60 metres down to the high tide mark of the ocean. And all that water gets pushed out by the weight of water coming down from the catchment above. Now, this is a small estuary in comparison to Brisbane and the Brisbane River and the northern rivers of New South Wales. This is only a trickle, but the power of the water when it comes down and the ability to move this much sand is quite remarkable when it actually happens, and it's quite a sight to see it go when it goes. Okay, it's now the next day, back at the Painkalac Estuary, and we've got truckloads more water in the estuary now. The river's backed up and isn't far from starting to look as though it could inundate some houses. So all that rain that we had over the last 2 days, nearly 100 mil, and probably over 100 mil in the hills behind us, it's all made its way, and it's trying to make its way to the sea. And here's some people trying to dig it out, actually. Some people at the end of the entrance trying to dig it out. But it's like a mill pond. It is just absolutely beautiful. I'm down here with my boys at the moment. And as I take this video, Brisbane is completely under. Brisbane is having its worst flood since 1974. So some kids have been digging the estuary out, and you can see here the top layer of water is coming off, and unfortunately for this estuary, the top layer of water is the only layer where there's oxygen. So if the thing doesn't break fully in the next couple of days with the rain, we could have a massive fish kill. Because in this estuary, it's the top couple of foot where all the oxygen is, and underneath that, it's deoxygenated water. And when you don't get a natural river break or a natural estuary opening, what happens is the top layer throughout the estuary disappears, and you're left with the top layer disappears, and you're left with deoxygenated water, and that's how fish kills can happen. So let's hope we get lots of rain and the whole thing breaks and we get a full estuary break. Okay, we're now at day 3 of the rain event, and the sun has broken out, looking across to Fairhaven from Aireys Inlet, and we've got a much more dynamic scene now. We've had well over 150 mil in the last 3 days, or around about 150 mil. And what is usually a fairly calm scene, with a beach that very rarely gets used, and an end of the estuary that very rarely gets used, all of a sudden crowded with people. The entrance is broken, and it's broken at full thickness, which is, well, full depth, which is great for the health of the estuary. It's not just the little trickle that we saw yesterday, which could have just siphoned off the top layer of oxygenated water, but now we've got a full thickness estuary breaking, and it's actually changed a lot since yesterday afternoon as well. It initially went round the corner to the left there, but now it's broken at full thickness. So let's go down and have a closer look. So yesterday when we walked down, this expanse of sand was completely underwater. In fact, this whole area was underwater all the way back to the grassy patch you can see in the distance. So now we've got a fast flowing river or creek called the Painkalac Creek, and it's really flowing quite quickly. Here we go. So it's probably about 20 metres across. As I said the other day, it's not a big creek at all. I mean, compared to the Brisbane River, where this is a speck of dust really. But the force of the river is enough to push out that sort of depth of sand, which would be 6 foot depth of sand by at least 50 or 60 metres. Something that would take construction workers a long time to do. And as you can see, with movement comes people and activity. And I'm bringing my kids down after this to have a bit of a play myself.